I was so excited to make this. I didn't put on any makeup. I didn't make any tea like I usually do, but I do have an old McDonald's coffee in here. I should have thrown it away yesterday, but it's over there, so I'm gonna grab it just so that I have a actual beverage while I do my usual introduction for y'all. So give me 1 minute. Hey guys, I'm Cameron and welcome back to my channel where we sip tea and
sometimes coffee
and spill the tea as I talk about some of my favorite reads. And we're going to be talking about Kingdom of Flesh and Fire. We are going to be reading this book. I'm going to be vlogging to you, and this is going to have a ton of spoilers, so notice your one warning. And yeah, I'm so excited to get into this book. I was actually reading another book. I was listening to the audiobook of The Iron Flower by Laura Forrest. But you know what? I feel like this book, A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire, it deserves to be read right now. And usually I don't do this. I don't stop mid-book and start a new one like that. I just feel like I'm kind of cheating on it. So I usually don't do that, but this book, it is so beautiful, and I can't deny this pull that I have towards it. I have to read it. So I am about to make this book my mistress, and I'm very excited to go into this relationship and experience everything that I know I will experience with this book. Okay, so anyways, this is your introduction. I know this is a very long and winded intro, so let's start to get into the vlogging. Hey guys, so before we get into the actual reading of A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire, I wanted to give y'all a quick rundown of what happened in the last book. So our girl Poppy gets blindsided by her guard Hawke, who she is having a forbidden relationship with, whenever she travels with him to try to get to the capital where her king and queen reside in. And they end up stopping in a small town for a little while, and it's here where Poppy finds out that Hawke is no other than the Dark One. Hawke basically tells her that she has nowhere to go and that him and his people are gonna use her as a trade-off so that he can trade her to the king and the queen so that he can get his brother back. And we also find out that the Atlanteans are not the bad type of people that they were previously thought to be. Hawke tells Poppy that whenever her people ascend, that they are not getting the gods' powers. Her people drink from the Atlanteans, then their blood turns them into these type of vampires. So it's very important for Poppy's people to have an Atlantean with them at all times so that during the ascension ceremony, their people can use the Atlanteans as their quote-unquote slushy as they slurp on their blood and become vampires. So our girl Poppy is so surprised and confused. At first she denies it, but then she starts to realize that, you know what, like she looks around her, she thinks about the people who raised her, and she knows that there is something going down, but she has to accept it quite quickly because after that she comes to realize she has some type of Atlantean blood within her as well. I'm so excited to read more about Hawke and to get to learn more about him and his past, because guys, let me just say, I love Hawke. I absolutely adore him. I love the way that he's neither good nor bad, that he does good things, but he also does really, really bad things. And ooh, guys, like, if you have watched any of my other videos, y'all know that bad guys are my kryptonite. Like, I can't get enough of a bad man. Like, oof. And we all know that Hawke is not an upstanding citizen. He is the dark one, and he basically kidnapped our girl Poppy to try to trade him off to the people who he despises and to the people who he constantly tells Poppy that are just terrible people. And he wants to use her to trade her off to these people so that he can get his brother back. And while I do see, like, yeah, obviously it's his brother, so he will do whatever he has to do to get his brother back, but like at the same time, like, I mean, come on, he's trading her off, like, okay. But anyways, I still adore him because at the same time, even though he's doing that, he still shows that he cares about her, about our girl Poppy, by protecting her no matter what. He doesn't let anyone lay a hand on his maiden. Well, she's actually not
a maiden anymore.
y'all know if y'all read the last book, but he will do whatever is necessary to protect his girl, and that includes freaking killing all of these people who had tried to hurt and kill Poppy, and he mounted them on the wall and basically did some bloody finger painting as he had them on full display like they were some type of art while everybody was eating. And yeah, so they definitely had a dinner and a show, but that definitely shows how ruthless he is, and it shows how protective he is of the people that he cares about. And guys, I don't know what it says about me, but whenever he did that for Poppy, like, something in me just, like, I thought it was so sweet. Like, guys, just the more ruthless a man is, oh, just the sexier. Oh my goodness. Maybe instead of talking to you guys about this book and about my man Hawke, maybe I should be talking to a therapist. Is it healthy to find that very hot? So yeah, so this is where we left off. I'm so excited to read more about my man, my lover, my boyfriend, and I'm also excited to be reading about our freaking epic heroine, Poppy. Oh, so excited. Okay, I'm probably gonna cut that out.
20 minutes later.
So I just finished the very first chapter, and talk about getting to the heart of the matter here, because our freaking epic, hot, dark man, Prince Castile, aka Hawke, he just freaking took the heart out of a guy who was basically saying that Poppy isn't going to be his princess and that he will sooner see her dead than see her on the throne. And so right then and there, Castile, like, vanished from his chair that he was sitting at, and in a blink of an eye, he is taking out that man's heart from his literal chest. He rips it out, blood and all, and yeah, and he flings it to the floor. You guys, just what a man. Like, this just gives me so many Damon Salvatore and Niklaus vibes. Like, oh my goodness. If you love the Vampire Diaries and you like your bad men, then Hawke is the boyfriend that is meant for you. Oh my gosh, I love Hawke. Like, I know it's so messed up, but I just think that's so romantic. Like, ugh. Gosh, like, yeah, that's what I have to say so far. I am now on chapter 2, and we'll see what happens next, you guys. Oof, I'm so excited to see what happens. And I love the banter that is between Hawke and Poppy. Like, it's just, there has been so much, like, getting more on the writing side of the story. Like, the author has truly stepped it up. Like, there has been so much growth. The very first chapter of our first book to the second book, like, whenever I read the first book, I didn't really like the relationship that was being built between Hawke and Poppy. I felt like it was very forced, and I would actually be slightly annoyed whenever I would see them talking to each other and having any type of witty banter, because like it just really seemed forced and I could not feel the attraction at all between them. But now, like, you can truly see how much Jennifer L. Armentrout has like just created such a great and strong relationship, and the banter now is just so natural and authentic, and everything just runs so smooth, and it's like you can feel the chemistry just coming off the page between them. I just adore this couple, and this is the one instance where I'm just like so excited for Poppy and Hawke to be together, even though like I love him and I wish he was mine. But if I had to lose him to anybody, I would totally gladly be honored to lose him to Poppy, because they're just such a great duo.
An eternity later.
You guys, let me take off my glasses because I'm sure you can see the reflection, but you guys, it is literally 2:49 a.m. in the morning. This isn't the p.m. It's in the morning. I have been reading this book non-stop, as you can tell with all of my little references that I put in here. I have a lot to say about this, but I'm so tired, and I just want to say that like I have my references, I have like some notes I've been writing, so I have like so much to say to you guys. I guess what I want to say is that I really am enjoying this book so much. So I want to compare it to the first book, because as I've been reading this, you know, I've just finished reading the last book about a week ago, so it's still fresh in my mind, so it's easy for me to make comparisons between the two. And guys, like, this book, the second book, is such a strong follow-up. I've read 183 pages, and not a lot of things have happened. Our girl Poppy has been stuck in that same town this whole time. She hasn't left. She's been in the same lodgings with our man Hawke and all of the guards for 176 pages. And you would think that while you're reading this that you would start to get bored, you know, because not much is going on. But at the same time, while there's not a lot of movement taking place and like changes and settings, there is so much going on within the castle, so many revelations and so many alliances that are made, and there is so much more dialogue in this book than what was in the first book. Because in the first book that I read, there was actually, like, in the first 100 pages, there was a lot of things taking place. A lot of things were happening, but there was not a lot of dialogue. We were actually stuck inside our main character, Poppy's head. And in the beginning, whenever I first started reading it, our author was having Poppy try to throw a whole lot of information dumps and try to just truly have Poppy introduce this new world to us. And it would get to a point where I would just get bored and I would get confused as I was trying to really grasp onto what she was saying. And there was points where I just wanted there to be more dialogue, and that wasn't delivered to us in the first 100 pages of the first novel. It was delivered to us later on, and it was definitely worth the wait, as you can tell, because I'm so excited about reading this book. But I really had to be patient with that novel. But with this one, there's so much dialogue coming in to the story, and of course a lot of that dialogue is between our two main characters. And guys, I just love the I love the relationship that is taking place between our two main characters. And I do want to get more into the relationship side of things because it's really interesting where Jennifer L. Armentrout has left Poppy and Hawke. So obviously Poppy has just found out that Hawke is this total other different person. He is not just the Hawke that she thought he was. He is Prince Castile, the Dark One, and freaking one of the heirs to the thrones. He's this whole other person that she never even realized he was. And so now we are introduced to her in this story where she's trying to figure out who is Hawke, and she's trying to figure out the truths from the lies that were told to her from Hawke. What I really liked about Hawke was that now that he has revealed who he is, he's able to start to pull back the layers and to slowly but surely start to show her who he truly is, because he doesn't have to hide behind the persona of being a royal guard. Like, now he can be who he truly is, and it's just really interesting to see like what's going on with our two main characters. And like, it really is like they're starting from the beginning of getting to know each other once again.
12 seconds later.
Oh my gosh. I need a coffee or a tea. This is like what a true book hangover is. Oh my gosh, I'm so tired. Okay. I'm really tired. It's about to be 3 in the morning. So I'm gonna go to sleep now. And I'm so excited because as soon as I wake up, I get to read more of this book. So this is day 1 of having a sleepless night as I spend my time in between the sheets with my beautiful mistress and my book, A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire. Oh my goodness. Okay, good night, guys. Mwah.
Day 2.
So this is I got a text. Excuse a text message. Okay guys, this is another segment in this vlog which I like to call Side Hoe or Soulmate, and this is where we discuss our man Hawke, aka Prince Castile, aka the Dark One, aka sexy as hell man. Okay, that's not an actual nickname, but that is my own nickname for him. So, welcome to my deeply and complex literary analysis of finding out if Hawke is the man for our girl Poppy. Now, is he a snack or is he a feast? We shall find out. So, for our side hoe qualities, these are basically the traits that are not super attractive, and they're the ones that are going to be counting against him. So my side hoe traits for our man Hawke is that, number 1, he betrayed our girl Poppy. Like, from the very beginning, he was lying to our girl. He told her that he's a guard. He fabricated this whole life for himself, and he hid behind this mask of being a guardsman, of being Hawke, and he basically had plans to use our girl as a trading piece to get his brother. Is that soulmate material? No, I don't think so. How would it be cool finding that out? Especially after I lost my virginity to him? Like, what the heck? Our girl Poppy was thrown for the biggest loop ever. So that is definitely counting against him, and that puts him in his side hoe zone. Next trait of his side hoe-ness is that he hides too much of himself. In this book, Poppy constantly describes our man Hawke as having all these different masks, and it's because he hides so much of himself from her, and there's so many different parts of himself that she has not been shown, that she can't quite figure out if she's truly talking to Castile, or if she's just talking to a separate mask that Castile puts on to show to others. He shows these masks to her even whenever they are in private. Very rarely does he truly open up to her, and I just feel like that is definitely a side hoe characteristic trait, because I mean, at the end of the day, we want somebody who is honest to us. We want somebody who completely opens up to us and reveals all that there is within themselves. And our man fails to do that. He fails to rise to the challenge. And I don't know if he hides himself out of fear, if it's some type of way for him to protect himself because he has been hurt in the past. I don't know. But we shall find out. We are only about 250 pages in, so there's so much more room for him to unmask himself and for us to really see the real Hawke. My third trait of his side ho-ness is that maybe he's a bit too violent. You know, he has mounted men on the wall, and he has created a whole type of bloody masterpiece of all of the men who have tried to hurt Poppy. Is that attractive? Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I am a weirdo, and I find that in a terrible way, in a totally fictitious way. I find that very attractive. So, okay, the violence, that goes more into the soulmate material, because let's be honest, like, we all want a man who protects us. And yeah, maybe that's taking it a bit too far, but at the same time, like, they live in a very dangerous world, and whenever you're in that type of world, you have to become something else to survive that world. And in order to survive a dangerous world, you have to become dangerous yourself. And I think that it's so sweet that he made that bloody mural, because that was a point to show to everyone else, to his whole court, that you will not touch my girl, you will not hurt my girl. And you know what? I kind of liked that. I thought that was hot. I thought that was attractive. So I'm gonna add that to our number 1 point of soulmate material. Okay, so my second point of him being soulmate material is that, man, our boy is funny, and it's in times when you would least expect it. He's so witty, and he just knows how to add a bit of sunshine to very dark situations, because he is witty in the midst of huge combative scenes. Whenever people would be fearing for their lives, he just knows how to bring a bit of sunshine to really scary situations, and I love that about Hawke. My third and final soulmate attribute so far is that, guys, just the conversations and the banter that goes on between our girl and our man is just so natural. And like, that is something that is so rare, and I love being able to read about that. And so yes, that is my soulmate attribute for Hawke. So far, like, I really like Hawke. I really do. He's somebody who I wish that I could make my soulmate instead of my side hoe. I'm sorry, Kurt Cobain. I love you, but Hawke is just, he's not just any man. He's an Atlantean, and I want one. I want one of those. Okay. So yes, this is the end of my segment, side hoe or soulmate. I'll catch you next time, okay?
The next day.
Good morning, guys. It is now day 3, and I want to go ahead and talk about what has been going on in the story. So yesterday I read a total of 244 pages. I am now on page 428, and guys, there has been some fantastic development so far. Let's talk about it, shall we? So Poppy and Hawke are having a fake marriage, and the reason why they are having this fake marriage is so that both of them can try to use that marriage for their own personal gain, so that they can both try to save their siblings. I don't want to go too much into the semantics on how they plan on saving their siblings through the marriage, but just know that that's the end goal. And then after they save their siblings, Hawke told Poppy that she can get a divorce and that she can be free to do whatever she wants and to go her own way. In Atlantia, they marry for love, and Hawke told Poppy that they need to pretend like they are in love, because if people don't believe that they are in love, then they will not allow them to get married. So out in public, Poppy and Hawke have to pretend like they're madly in love with each other, and whenever they're in private, that is whenever Poppy can be Poppy and use Hawke's heart as her target practice. So things start to get interesting whenever they are in private. Hawke tells Poppy that they can just pretend that Poppy is just Poppy and Hawke is just Hawke, that Hawke is not Prince Castile, he is not the Dark One, he is the guard that she met in the first book, in book 1. So they end up, you know, having a bit of role playing, and things get a bit heated in the kitchen and in the bedroom whenever they are pretending to just be Hawke and Poppy. What's really cool about this is that while they are pretending, Poppy ends up starting to not just like Hawke for Hawke. Whenever they are out in public, she really starts to see who Hawke is as Prince Castile, and she starts to like what she is seeing from Prince Castile. And it gets to one point, and this is what I believe is the whole tipping point in their relationship, is whenever Hawke takes Poppy out on the town in Vesepa, and it's here that she sees Hawke interacting with all of the villagers and with all of his people, and she sees him being so genuine to them and being kind, and she sees the love that he has for his people, and she sees how he is he's not just a good man, but he's a good prince. And it's in this moment that she thinks to herself that she is Poppy and he is her prince. And guys, that is such an important line. That is such a critical thought that she had, because up until then, Poppy didn't really want to accept that she liked who Hawke was as Prince Castile. Up until then, she thought that she fell in love with Hawke and that she could never ever have any type of relationship with Prince Castile, who is also the Dark One and who is also an Atlantean. But at this moment, that's whenever she truly accepts Hawke for being not just Hawke, but for being Prince Castile as well, and for just being the man that she really likes. And that was just such an important moment. It's so significant to the plot line. I'm just truly enjoying what I'm reading so far. I really like this book. I like how the author is spending so much time building up this relationship between our two characters, and yeah, I'm just so excited to see what happens next.
Tomorrow.
Hey guys, so welcome back to day 4 of reading The Kingdom of Flesh and Fire. So today I only had 20 pages to read, so I finished it up this morning. It is officially 2:21 in the afternoon, so I decided that after reading this book, I should put some makeup on because I was suffering from the biggest book hangover. My hair looked crazy, my skin was pale and placid, and quite frankly, I was just in a state of utter distraughtness because I finished this book and it was absolutely wonderful. It's everything that I expected it to be, and I was just suffering a major hangover and a major headache because I'm so upset about how I'm going to have to wait for however many months the author is going to have us wait for the next book to come out in the series. So I thought I would do y'all all a favor and not scare y'all too much, so I
Slap some
makeup on. Ow, I actually kind of hurt myself a bit. I slapped myself, but moving on. So since I finished this book, I'm going to be focusing on a few topics as I talk about my final thoughts and opinions about this wonderful work of fiction. So first of all, I'm going to be talking about the romance, which, guys, we all know that that was my favorite part of the story, because your girl definitely more of somebody who likes hot better than the plot. But anyways, so I'm going to be talking about the romance first, movement that took place throughout the book, and by movement I mean like what happened throughout the book in terms of world building, in terms of if there was any action, and where this book was set. So that is going to be the second thing I talk about. The third thing that I'm going to talk about is our girl Poppy herself. I'm going to talk about how her powers have evolved and how her overall traits have evolved, as well as she grows from being this maiden figurehead to this warrior-esque woman. And last but not least, I thought that I would end this on something kind of fun, on more of a fun note, where I talk about if our man Hawke is either a side hoe or a soulmate. So let's get into this, okay? Let's talk about the romance, guys. While the world building was very important in this book as well, and the author made it a point to truly have us get to know the different types of bloodlines that exist with the Atlanteans, and she wanted us to learn more about the political ties between the Atlantean people and the people of Solus. The most significant part in this book was the romance between Hawke and Poppy. And now, let me tell you, I absolutely adored this romance because, you know, like I said before, opening this book, we were thrusted into the mind of Sage as she didn't know what to believe whenever she was faced with Hawke, with somebody who she thought she knew completely, but she found out that this whole time that she was with him in the kingdom of Solus, that he was lying to her to try to get something out of her, and she feels betrayed. She feels like she doesn't know who Hawke truly is, and she feels like he is just constantly hiding behind these different masks that he puts on to the world, and he puts on whenever he's talking to Poppy as well. So Poppy doesn't know what to believe, but throughout this book, you know, she starts to truly get to know Hawke, and she starts to see him for the man that he is, and she sees him as not just Hawke, she sees him as Prince Castile, she sees him as the Dark One, she sees him as every good and bad thing that he is, and yet at the end of this book, she truly accepts him for everything that he is, for all the good and all the bad, and she decides that she's truly falling in love with this man. And guys, it was just so sweet because this whole book was all about exploring their romance, was all about exploring the different depths that are both in Poppy and in Hawke. It's about them meeting and finally being able to slowly start to take away the mask that they put on for everybody else, and for them to truly get to know each other. And, you know, even though they had already met in the first book, even though they had spent so many months together getting to know one another, this book truly let them get to know each other without hiding behind any type of lies or masks. And it really had them start from the beginning as they slowly started to have a truly sweet and romantic relationship. By the end of this book, they went from fighting each other to getting married to each other. And this marriage that they had, while it started out being a fake marriage so that they could both get something out of it, it ended up being a completely true and honest to God relationship, an honest to God marriage between them, as they admitted their feelings for each other and they got married. So I really enjoyed this book in regards of the romance, and I truly found myself falling in love with Hawke a bit as well. I couldn't blame Poppy for feeling the way that she does about him. So that is the romantic part of the story. Now I'm going to be going into the movement that took place in this book. So I do want to say that I feel like the author kind of led us on a bit, because whenever I read the back of this book, the synopsis said that they were going to have this marriage and that they were going to end up going to Atlantia, and the author made it seem like in this book our main two characters were going to spend most of the pages in the majestic world of Atlantia, and that's what I was looking forward to, because I wanted to see all that there is in the world of Atlantia. But they only make it to Atlantia in like the last 26 pages, and for that they are either in the village that the book opens up at, or they are in this other city called Spetses Inn. So it was only the last few pages that they actually ended up being in Atlantia itself. Now, while they were only in Atlantia for a little while, the movement and the action that took place before that was more than enough to make me excited about what was going on in the story, and to keep me on the edge of my seat reading to find out what was going to happen next. So in this book, it starts out with them being in the small village that they ended up in the first book, and throughout that time that they spent there, not much actually truly happened. The author was spending a lot of that time to start building up the relationship between Hawke and Poppy. But there was one thing that happened that was very exciting, and that was where the king and queen sent some of the ascended people to come and capture Poppy. So whenever that happened, there was a huge big like action scene, and it was super thrilling, and it did have me at the edge of my seat. That was very exciting. And then from there, Poppy and Hawke and all of their entourage end up leaving the village to go to Spetses Inn. Whenever they make it to Spetses Inn, the king and queen end up sending a huge army this time to come and attack them and to try to recapture the maiden, which is Poppy. That battle that took place, it was so exciting. We got to see Poppy as she was her awesome warrior self, defending all of the people that were at Spetses Inn, and we got to see some fabulous interactions between Poppy and Hawke as they both teamed up to defeat this army. It was just so much fun, so thrilling, and I did not want that battle scene to end. I was so excited while I was reading that. So those were the two main things that happened in this book. But the most important thing, the most significant thing that happened was the ending, where Poppy ended up finding out something crazy about her, and that is going to lead us to our third point of discussion, and that is where I talk to you about Poppy herself and about the character development that took place, and about her finding out all these different and new things about herself that she never knew to begin with. So our girl Poppy spends this book truly accepting that she doesn't just have feelings for Hawke, but that she loves him as well. And as she begins to love him, she starts to see that while her and Hawke are completely different, there are some things that they have completely in common, and those things that they have in common is that they will protect the people who they love no matter what. And that means that they are both willing to do things that some people would see as evil, as vile, but they are willing to do that to protect the people that they call family and friends. And so we get to see this side of Poppy that was starting to be explored in the first book, but we get to have a whole new level of understanding, and that is where she is willing to do bad things. And you know, we saw that in the first book where she murdered the nobleman who abused her and was cruel towards her. And we get to see that again whenever she protects herself and she protects the people of Atlantia, and she goes into all these different battles and she kills these different men and soldiers who are part of the Ascended and who are fighting for the side of the Kingdom of Solace. And you know, it's during these times that she really takes a step back and she realizes that she's more like Hawke than she ever even imagined she was. That's one of the biggest turning points that we see in the character that is Poppy. And of course we get introduced with the things that we have already known about her. We see how curious she is, how ruthless she is, and we get to see as she truly starts to grow. It was really exciting to get to see her as she starts to be able to be somebody who is not just the maiden anymore. She gets to be somebody who is free to be herself and to be whoever she wants to be. That is truly like what happened when it comes to the character development of Poppy. Now I'm going to be talking about the powers that are being developed within Poppy as well. And those powers include her being able to call on the Wolven to help her. She can send out some type of call, which is pretty exciting. That makes me think, does she have any type of alpha tendencies? That wasn't really discussed in this book, but I'm very curious to find out how she's able to do that. Is that part of her empathic abilities to communicate to others? At the end of the book, she was approached by these Atlanteans who were going to try to murder her because they think that she is not a good person. She's not good for the kingdom, and so they try to gang up on her and kill her. And it is here that she ends up killing them by just using her mind, and I'm not even sure how she did it. The author didn't explain it. It just talked about her killing them just by using her mind and everything, and that was very, very interesting in itself. And that is where we find out that Poppy is not just half Atlantean. We find out that she is the last descendant of the god Nikos himself. And guys, let me just say, I was so excited when I read that because, you know, that showed that I'm not just blonde. I also have brains. There's not just air in this head. There's some brains here. And I guessed that at the very beginning of this book. I guessed that something was going to happen and she was going to find out that somehow she's descended by the gods and that she was going to become queen. And guys, I didn't say that yet, but at the end of this book, she becomes queen. The king and the queen, who are the father and mother of Castile, they end up finding her after she killed all of the Atlanteans who tried to kill her, and the queen ends up laying down her crown in front of Poppy's feet and saying, "Welcome, our queen." And I'm just so excited about that. So our girl Poppy went from being a maiden to a warrior and now a queen. I'm so excited. I love this trajectory. I love this character development, and wow, I'm just here for it. Oh my goodness. Okay. So yes, that is one of our main points that I wanted to talk about. And then last but not least, I wanted to talk about whether Hawke is a side hoe or a soulmate. And you know, guys, after careful deliberation, I have come to the conclusion that he's neither of these things. He's neither of the side hoe variety or the soulmate variety. You guys, He is a whole new variety. He is heartmate material. Ugh. And if you read this book, guys, you know what that means. I'm not even gonna explain it. Just read this book. And yeah, I mean, Hawke, he's a man. He's an Atlantean, and he stars in all of my dreams, you guys. From here on out, there's just no words to describe him, you guys. Like, he's the Atlantean for me. Just, no men are attractive to me anymore. The only man that I want is in the form of a hunky Atlantean, and that is Hawke Castile, the Dark One, a man of many names. Ooh, but you know what? His main name is
Mine.
That is the name that I call him. So yes, he is my heartmate, and I do truly adore him. So I just want to give my final thoughts and opinions of this book. I want to say that I'm very excited for the next book that is going to be coming out. I'm not sure when it's coming out, but nevertheless, I am so excited for it. I'm looking forward to it so much, and I just can't wait to see what happens with Poppy and Castile and the king and the queen and the Wolven and just everything. Like, freaking Jennifer L. Armentrout has just crafted such a great series. And you know what I'm most looking forward to is to see what happens next between Hawke and our girl Poppy, because guys, like, things are just getting very interesting from here on out. I'm excited to see how Hawke decides to interact with Poppy now, knowing that she's descended from the gods. Like, is he still going to be able to love her? Is there going to be any type of problems that are caused from that? Because I am interested to see what happens, because when in this book, Hawke just seemed like he acted a little strange whenever he found out that she is not just half Atlantean, but that she's descended from Nikos. And then I'm very excited to see what happens with the queen and the king and with Poppy, because the king and the queen did not sound excited knowing that she is going to be the new queen. They didn't seem like they were okay with that. So is there going to be some type of fighting that's going to take place inside of Atlantia? And that's just going to be a whole new beast in itself, because, you know, Atlantia needs to gear up to fight the Ascendant, to fight the Kingdom of Solace. But if there is conflict within their own nation between Poppy and the old king and queen, guys, that's going to cause some just even more exciting things to read about. I'm so looking forward to that. So yes, this is my final thoughts on A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire. Guys, this is a 4.5 out of 5 stars. And yes, and that's all I have to say to you. So yeah, guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it for you guys. I know this was a bit chaotic and a little crazy at times, but you know, all the best things are. Nonetheless, I hope you have a great day. If you liked this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. I hope you have an amazing day. Mwah.